So here we have personal statement number 1. I'm going to read it out. It may take a couple minutes. Feel free to read on your end as well. And then we will talk through it together, share some thoughts. I'll be looking for all of you to share some feedback and your ideas on it, not just me sharing my thoughts. I have not read these thoroughly. I've given them a quick skim, but I have not actually looked at them in depth at all yet. So this will be new to me also. So here's the first one. I'm on deck, next up to bat. I am practicing my swing, preparing to walk to home plate. The bases are loaded, the pressure is on. I am laser focused on the task at hand. We have 2 outs in the bottom of the 9th. My thoughts are suddenly interrupted by a comment from the other team, a racial slur directed at my teammate. I can tell it affected her. Now my job is crystal clear. Not only do I have to perform for myself, I have to perform for my team and specifically for my teammate in retaliation to that comment from the outfield. The game eventually finished with a score of 7-6. Our team won. It did not feel like a win for me. Rather, the only thing on my mind was my teammates' well-being. As a coach, my father taught me anything worth having requires hard work, commitment, and perseverance. I was taught that people cannot and should not be judged based on the color of their skin, rather who they are as an individual. As a young girl growing up in a predominantly white suburb, race was simply a verb meaning a running punishment to the outfield with the loser having to collect the bases. Race had a completely different meaning to me, most likely because it was never something I had judged against me. Sports should always be a space of inclusion, a safe space where athletes are connected and have an obligation to one another. Oftentimes, team is family and we rely on each other. Although this may not be the case for all athletes, my obligation on that bantam softball game day was to my teammate, and now it has broadened to all marginalized athletes in sports. Despite confusion, sadness, and anger at that time, I am no longer scared or intimidated by these racist comments. I am motivated to use my voice and I want to be empowered by my knowledge. As a lawyer, I believe I can make a difference and will make changes to the institutionalized and systemic racism that is, after decades, still deeply embedded in professional and collegiate sports. I do not take my privileges lightly. I believe it needs to be utilized to the best of my ability to mobilize change for people who have less of a voice in society. I faced my own challenges and adversity growing up, but the difference is the hurdles that I faced were not a result of the color of my skin. White privilege exists as a direct result of both historic and present racism, biases, and practices designed to oppress people of color. I'm not here to simply advocate for those who don't have a voice, but to help ensure that those who are oppressed get their voice and advocacy that they deserve. There are added barriers to success in the sports industry for people of color. I commit to listening and amplifying the voices of these marginalized groups. I believe that law school in the UK would be ideal for me for several reasons. These prestigious schools are internationally recognized, diverse, and multicultural, and I will gain experience with a law firm while completing my degree. As a sports lawyer, I believe that I can change people's perspectives. I can better serve the industry and help those in need. Through a combination of academic, athletic, and life experience, coupled with my vocational background, I know that I can be a catalyst for change. Just like any other space in society, the sports industry should be a place of diversity, a place where skin color should not facilitate positions of leadership. I know that an overwhelming amount of challenges face me as a woman, both in the sports industry and law school. Sport has given me many advantages. It created a safe space for me to be myself, achieve my goals, de-stress, be part of a larger purpose, and have fun, while also being one of my biggest passions. It confirmed for me that in order to achieve something, one must be passionate. Reflecting on my educational experiences as an accounting major, the interest was there. However, the passion is what lacked. The completion of my undergraduate degree allowed me to explore different options academically and extracurricularly, realize my true passion, spurred my drive, courage, and self-esteem. Sport taught me the importance of having the right attitude, goal setting, preparation, fair play, perseverance, and endurance, qualities all of which I believe will directly translate to my success in law school and as a lawyer. Okay, so would love to get all of your thoughts on this one. Please keep criticism constructive, not simply critical. Honor the individual's story and experience, and let's encourage them to create the space where they can bring out the best that they have to share. And as you're sharing with others, also realize that we often teach what we most need to learn. So whatever you're recognizing in someone else's statement may actually apply to your own draft, even if you don't have one yet. So who has some feedback for this individual on their statement?
I have some feedback.
Sure.
I feel like there's like somewhat of like an outsideness. I don't know how to describe it. I feel like they don't actually understand. They're providing a bunch of like adjectives and nouns, but I feel like I need to see like what examples are there to back that up. She says that her teammate felt bad, and she describes it through her point of view through sports. But I there's like a lack of passion and actual like insight. She's listing, it's like using like skin color, but I want to know what she actually did to help this person. She said that how they felt was bad, but what passion was there to actually stop it? She continued to play the game, and there was no voice. So then that person is kind of just like a sideline character almost in her main pursuit of whatever that is.
That's excellent feedback. Yes, there's not a whole lot of action here on the part of the author of this statement. It's more they're a witness. They're noticing, and this individual says in line 4, "I can tell it affected her. Now my job is crystal clear. I'm gonna play better." That's really the only concrete action we have as a result here, and it's largely focused on the teammate, not on the author here. So we're seeing this author looking from the outside. But yeah, I think this statement isn't as strong as it could be, in part because the author of the statement is not the hero of the story. So thank you for that feedback, Victoria. I think that's spot on. Other thoughts or reflections on this one?
I'll say something.
Sure.
I think it's kind of interesting to adding on to that one that the first 2 paragraphs, it focuses on somebody else, and then it focuses on the parents and the teachings that you were brought into. Having been in just high school sports, like there are lots of instances where there's something that goes wrong and like you kind of feel like you need to step in and talk up for somebody. So I feel like there's almost kind of that lack there where it's like you almost feel like there should be more experiences that she can pull from and say like as a whole there's kind of this discrepancy in athletics, because this seems kind of, I don't know how old she was at this point, it doesn't really matter, but kind of knowing like seeing it systematically just from this one situation to kind of pull from. That makes sense. I like the structure though. Like if there was like kind of a more inclusive example at the beginning and kind of going down and being like, now I've gotten to sports, I feel like that would be helpful.
Yeah, I agree. I think the structure here is great. It starts off in the moment. There's an anecdote. We have a story there. Then the author is zooming out and giving some reflections on it. But I think I think this person probably has an even better story they could share. One where they are the hero of the story, one where they're the one taking actions. Or if not, that's fine too. But I'd love to see this author coming more from a place of power. I feel like this person almost felt defeated in a way by what they witnessed, what they experienced, what they saw someone else experience. And then they're talking a lot about race and white privilege and saying, I've encountered my own obstacles, but what are they? I think, let me see if I can find those exact lines. Not seeing it at the moment. But I'm wondering what are those particular struggles this person has. Oh yeah, here we go. I faced my own challenges and adversity growing up. Okay, well, what is that? Share that, because that's undoubtedly transformative for you in some way. So I want to see, okay, well, what were you transformed by? I'm sure that the person who experienced this racial slur, perhaps one of several, that person was impacted by that far more deeply than this author was. So I want to hear what this author has been impacted by in their own life. Or if they were so powerfully impacted by what others experienced and how they witnessed that, what did they concretely do? I see a lot of vague general statements here in this essay, in particular, this paragraph. I'm not here to simply advocate for those who don't have a voice, blah, blah, blah. Those are promises about the future, but what have you done? That's what I want to hear about. I want to hear about what you've done. I want to hear about a story in your life where you did something, not just what somebody else experienced. Then there's a lot of space here devoted to the future going forward. And I talked about the future should be a small percentage of the statement. The present and the past should be far more. I'm not really sure even why this person chose to focus on race in particular. I feel like this one anecdote, I feel like if this, maybe this was a prompt for the essay, maybe things are different in the UK law school admissions program to which this person was applying. I can't speak to that particular context here, but it's not clear to me that this is the best topic for this person in particular. Too much of it is vague, too much of it is general, too much of it's focused on the future. That's my general take on it. I don't know this individual. I don't know the resume, but I imagine there's probably other things they could be talking about as well or in addition. Oh, I had a great question in the chat here from Billy. What if you love to write and you make your stories come to life in persuasion? Yeah, I mean, that's fantastic. If you love to write, you're undoubtedly going to write a better personal statement draft, no question about it. And you can make a lot of different things come to life. I could imagine even using this topic and improving it significantly. So any topic, like I said, could be fine. The question's how you go about it. But I want to see more personal impact on the author themselves and more concrete stories and details from the author themselves here. That to me would be a lot more persuasive. So part of being persuasive to me is having compelling evidence, compelling stories, rather than generalities. And he says, Lydia pointed out, it doesn't need to explicitly state your reasons for going to law school. You can show that rather than stating it directly. That's always the case, always the case. And yes, the recording of this will be on the LSAT Unplugged YouTube channel sometime within the next couple of days or next week at most. One more question in the chat here, then we'll move on to the next statement unless there's any other general feedback on this one. What if you've experienced trauma and were denied any degree of justice, but at the same time, you don't want that to define you? Yeah, we'll talk about it, but tell it as a story of struggle and ultimately triumphing over what you experienced. Even if you did not triumph in the moment, given the trauma that you experienced, how have you grown through it? How have you been shaped by it? And what are you going to do going forward as a result? What were your big takeaways from that experience? That's really where I would want you to focus.
I have a quick question.
Yeah, sure, Michelle.
What is the, what do you think about the spacing on this one?
You mean the line spacing?
Yeah, shouldn't it be double spaced? Does it matter?
It would depend on the instructions for the particular school. Double spaced is typically the default. I just happen to, a lot of these were actually submitted to me double spaced, but I just kept it on one page just to be, because that suited me better for my purposes. That's all really.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Hey, Steve, are we going to move on or could I add some comments?
If you got something else on this one, please go ahead.
Sure. So I don't want to beat a dead horse. I think the feedback that's already been stated has been good. I would add that some of the, in addition to what was said about having clear, concrete examples to back up what you say you value, some of the details just on first listening to you read it out seemed a bit inconsistent. So they mentioned wanting to go to top UK law schools because they're diverse. I don't know if that's true. Maybe they are diverse, but a lot of top schools tend not to be that diverse. So that just seems like a question mark. And then also stay away from the usage of cliches. The idea of giving a voice to marginalized communities it's just so overused. And I think that a lot of conversations that are being had around racial justice have moved beyond that. So assuming this person wants to stick on this topic, I think just having a more nuanced and fleshed out perspective would be useful.
No, that's fantastic feedback, Richard. That occurred to me as well. It seemed a little bit general. That's why I was kind of thinking, was this person assigned this topic or did they just feel that they needed to write about race in particular? Because it felt like they don't have enough exposure to the topic or haven't really thought it through enough to have something unique and original to say. So I feel like they would want to go through more drafts to get to to discover and develop their own unique ideas around it or their own unique take on things. So I agree with you 100%. And we want to avoid all the cliches, certainly. And that's why I think getting feedback from others can be useful to call them out. Yeah, fantastic feedback. Thank you. Thanks for tuning into the show. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already to be notified of new episodes as I release them. And feel free to reach out if you need anything at all as you move forward with your prep. I'm happy to help however I can. In the meantime, I'll wish you all the best and take care.